In Oklahoma, a legal battle is brewing over Islamic Sharia law. Last week, 70% of Oklahomans approved a state constitutional amendment blocking courts from using Islamic Sharia law in their decisions. That led to a lawsuit from the Council on American Islamic Relations and a federal judge's decision to temporarily block the law from taking effect. A hearing will be held November 22nd to determine if the court should issue an injunction against the amendment. And joining us now with more is Jordan Sekulow of the American Center for Law and Justice. Jordan, some people have been mocking Oklahomans, saying there's really no threat here, but we do know that this has been somewhat of an issue in Europe. Can you explain?
It has. The American Center for Law and Justice, where I work, I oversee a lot of our international work, and we've got offices inside the European Union, in Africa, in Asia, and in every office. We actually had a meeting this last week in Washington, D.C. with all of our international directors. We went around the room and asked, what's the problem you're facing? And it's Islamic law. It's very smart lawyers from the Islamic community using law to seep into society, and so demanding certain rights, demanding that courts use legal systems for family law, for inheritance law. That's where it always starts. And even in this case in Oklahoma, the challenge against that was, one of the challenges was that it would affect his will, which was guided by Sharia law. That's exactly what we've seen in the UK, for instance, where 85 Sharia courts already exist in a common law country, which is very similar to the laws, how the laws were founded here in the United States. I would say this is a preemptive strike. That's what the legislators said who drafted this language, against the implementation and use of Sharia law in U.S. court systems. We already have the United States Supreme Court citing international law. This constitutional amendment also mentioned a ban on that as well. It will be an uphill legal challenge. The ACLU is actually standing with CARE, which is, by the way, an unindicted co-conspirator in a Hamas funding case in this challenge.
There's a lot of complications here. Yeah. But let me ask you this. The U.S. takes so much pride in the Constitution, in, our bedrock legal articles. I mean, do you really think that Sharia law could find its way, into our legal documents here?
The way it would find its way is through, it would be family law first. So divorce, adoption, any kind of family issues. There have been judges who look at, and have in other states looked at Sharia law before. It's been used as a defense by some Muslim men who have been accused of abusing their wives. It's been so it has already been used in the system. It is not, I would not say that any courts are using Sharia law right now, but as we see, it starts with international law, and then you move down that path to where someone else says, well, if you're going to cite to a case from the European Court of Human Rights, then why not also cite to the legal document which guides my life? We have to be careful, though, because so many of us also take, for instance, the Ten Commandments as something that's all over our courtrooms. If you can ban any kind of religious text whatsoever, we have to be very careful that we don't end up having bans on all religious texts.
Right, you can't have a double standard. Just briefly, you've got, judges striking down voters in Oklahoma, same thing with Prop 8 in California. Yeah. Is this a trend right now? Is more of this happening?
I'm glad you brought this up. It's important for people to understand the difference between a constitutional amendment and a regular law passed by the legislature. These voters met a burden, and the only way to overturn a state constitutional amendment is to say that it violates the U.S. Constitution, the federal Constitution, because of the Supremacy Clause. It is a trend. It's been judicial activism that the American people have begun to accept that, well, we can vote on something, but if the court tells us we're not smart enough or we don't understand our Constitution well enough, then they'll overturn us.
All right, a lot to watch. We are out of time, but Jordan Sekulow, thanks so much.
Thank you.